warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day everyone. My name is Norsyafikah Binti Mama with metric number 280915.
Auditing can be described as the examination and evaluation of the evidence about financial information in order to identify and report on the degree of similarity between the information and set standards. The auditing process should be performed by the qualified and independent person. Scandals that happen to an organization that have affected the accounting profession in recent years have typically been the consequence of fraud. As a result, the auditors in charge and directors must understand their role and responsibilities in the prevention and detection of fraud in order to preserve trust in the profession. After evaluating the related evidence, the auditor must be capable of grasping criteria adopted. Auditors also need to be competent to recognize the types and amount of evidence to accumulate in order for the right judgment to be achieved. In this report, we will analyze the company of Serba Dinamik Malaysia Berhad and the financial scandal that happened involving the company in the past. It will also identify what kind of roles and responsibilities that the auditors holds and how the scandal had affected the auditors. Auditing standards distinguish between two kinds of misstatements, which are errors and fraud. Material or immaterial misstatements are also possible. An error is an unintentional falsification of financial statements, whereas fraud is intentional. Fraud refers to any intentional deception or manipulation that is intended to deprive the property or rights of another person or party. The two major categories are fraudulent financial reporting or management fraud and asset misappropriation, which are also known as defalcation or employee fraud. Financial reporting fraud is defined as the intentional misstatement or omission of figures or disclosures with the purpose to deceive users. The bulk of cases involve intentional falsification of amounts rather than disclosures. Although some omissions are less often, omitting accounts payable or other liabilities might cause a company income to be overestimated. In addition, there are also some cases of fraudulent financial reporting, including inadequate disclosure. One example for fraudulent financial reporting is in the situation when an organization that provides their customers with goods that were not ordered and then records the transactions as a revenue to the company as thought it met all of the conditions for revenue recognition. Asset misappropriation is a sort of fraud in which assets of a company are stolen. In many cases, but not all, the amounts involved in asset misappropriation are insignificant to the financial statements presentation. However, theft involving the company's asset is one of the management concerns, regardless of the amount of the sums involved, because minor thefts can swiftly rise in scale and have serious reputational consequences once discovered and published. Misappropriation of assets is basically used to refer to cases of theft involving the organization's employee and others internal in those organizations. Theft of cash and inventory can be the example of misappropriation of assets. An auditor bears no responsibility for detecting any type of fraud in the financial accounts. Rather than detecting fraudulent acts, the auditor's role is confined to detecting serious misstatements caused by fraud. There is no distinction in auditing standards between the auditor's responsibility for error detection and fraud detection. In either case, the auditor must get reasonable assurance that the statements are free from misstatement. Reasonable assurance is a measure of the level of assurance achieved by the auditor at the end of the audit. The concept of reasonable but not absolute assurance suggests that the auditor is not an insurer or guarantor of the truth of the financial statements. As a result, an audit conducted in accordance with auditing standards may overlook a significant misrepresentation. Auditors discover a wide range of problems, including calculation errors, omissions, misunderstanding and misapplication of accounting principles, and erroneous summarizations and descriptions. Furthermore, when required to disclose a consolidated financial statements, the auditor will compile any sufficient acceptable audit evidence regarding the financial information of the company's activity to make an opinion on the consolidated financial statements.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my name is Muhammad Khairul Najmi bin Hasnul'Sham. My matrix number is 280694. So for the company background, we found that Serba Dinamik Holdings Berhad, known as Serba Dinamik, began as a private limited company in Malaysia on December 2, 2015 under the name Serba Dinamik Holdings Sendirian Berhad, and was later changed to a public limited company on May 13, 2016 as a Serba Dinamik. Via its subsidiaries, is a global energy services company that provides integrated engineering solutions to the oil and gas, petrochemical, power generating, water and wastewater, and utilities industries. Serba Dinamik have main business in operation, maintenance, engineering, procurement, and other business. And Serba Dinamik office as in Malaysia, Indonesia, UAE, Qatar, Singapore, India, Netherlands, Switzerland, and United Kingdom. And Serba Dinamik is an investment holding company that is largely involved in the supply of management services. So, the continuing Serba Dinamik issue takes a new turn in 2021, with the client threatening them to a legal action is against KPMG against Serba Dinamik. This is due to the deadlock both parties are experiencing with their external auditors on the completion of the statutory audit for the fiscal year 2020. So now for the best part. Serba Dinamik claims that KPMG's conclusions were not significant enough to require an independent examination and that KPMG problems are fully attributable to their own negligence, among other things, throughout the audit process, which is the basis of the civil litigation based on aforementioned reasons. So, I will conclude you the purported discoveries highlighted by KPMG. First, KPMG had concluded that several individuals who had signed audit confirmation requests on behalf of their companies, who are SDHB customers and suppliers, did not exist merely based on calling the front desk receptionist of the companies to verify the identity, and some of which employ thousands of staff cannot be recognized. And the second one is, in other case, KPMG conducted a site visit to verify the presence of foreign vendors' office in the Middle East and found that the office did not exist. Following a true assessment of KPMG's concerns, Serba Dinamik informed KPMG that the reason they were unable to locate the office was due to a combination of number digits and Arabic characters in the address, which the auditor misunderstood and directed to the incorrect location. So, who are the right? We see in the next part. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day to doctor. My name is Najihah binti Nazri. I would like to present about the involvement of auditor and the effects to the audit. Through the involvement of auditor, the upcoming legal action between Serba Dinamik Holdings Berhad and KPMG has gained attention in Malaysia since the audit firms are wrongdoing and it may breach of legal and illegal obligations. It was understood that KPMG was unable to validate these transactions' third-party data. According to publicly accessible information, it has denied the allegations and resigned as external auditor due to its incapacity to carry out its responsibilities independently. As we all know, auditing is a process that ensures a company's financial statements are free of major misstatements, whether from fraud or human mistake. The effect is the auditors should be able to fulfill their responsibilities and voice their independent thoughts without fear of retaliation, and they should be able to do so without danger of being punished. Regardless, the financial statements of the group and the company have been prepared on a continuing concern basis, and their validity is significantly contingent on the director's plan being implemented successfully. To support any management declarations in the financial statements, the auditor must gather adequate competent audit evidence. Then the internal auditors should evaluate the internal control operation by making an update and assess the auditor's prior experience with the organization. They should also analyze all the documents as proof and records. In the end, the auditor must determine the assessed control risk based on the knowledge gained, provided the controls are followed. In this case, Serba Dynamics auditors will have an impact on acceptable audit risk by deciding on engagement risk, which is strongly related to client business risk, and modifying acceptable audit risk based on that risk. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day to Doctor. My name is Hafiziah Deraman Binti Nuri, metric number 277234. Next, I will explain about preventing and detecting fraud. There have been a lot of scandal involving large corporations for the past few years. For example, the Diara scandal was the greatest bankruptcy and fraud scandal at the time and has become a part of American history. These scandals make stakeholders like shareholders, investors, and investment banks have expressed concern about auditor competency and capability to execute their job. According to ISA 200, the auditor is in charge of generating and conveying a perspective on a financial statement, while the company management is in charge of producing and presenting it. They also have stated that an auditor's duty is to execute an audit in accordance with the international standard on auditing in order to provide accountability assurance to shareholders that financial statements taken as a whole are devoid of major inaccuracy, whether due to fraud or human mistake. Despite multiple auditing authorities and rules monitoring and supervising the auditing industry, is it impossible to avoid accounting fraud or controversy? To prevent fraud, entities need to use data analytical procedure using technology in fraud detection. The fraud cycle starts with the fraudster planning leading up to the fraud act being committed. According to ASFERTTN, roughly 60% of all reported frauds were detected as a result of a tip or an accident, highlighted that they need more effective and proactive detection procedure like as internal controls and internal audits. As we all know, auditors are already trained to spot unexpected transactions and patterns of dealing that might suggest a serious fraud using data analytical. In this modern era, auditors can take use of technology by incorporating auditing software into their testing and control procedure. Some have even created automatic database known as macros that allow them to look for frequent red flags with the click of a button. In this context, many companies are purchasing software and receiving training in order to improve their ability to identify fraud during financial statement audit engagement. For example, United States Security and Exchange Commission (SEC) has used data analytical to spot even the slightly security fraud crime, which is the Robocop program, uses automation to quickly sort through enormous amount of trading data and flag possibly dishonest activity that requires further investigation. Other than that, IRBM also introduced interactive data attraction analysis idea to boost the productivity paradox among the auditor. Lastly, to prevent fraud is to have control of corporate ethics policy. Individuals are the perpetrator of fraud, not the entity management. Fraud frequently includes the coordinated activities of two or more people. This crime occurs due to the poor tone at the top. A corporation that has a negative tone at the top is more vulnerable to fraud. The fraud triangle concept may be included into a firm risk management and compliance programs. The model consists of three components, which are opportunities, incentive, and rationalization. In the fraud triangle, the sole component over which its firm has a total control is opportunity, which refers to circumstances that allow fraudulence and unethical activity. Meanwhile, when one side receives a benefit in exchange for committing fraud, this is referred to as an incentive or pressure, and the term rationalization refers to a party rationale for defrauding others. As a result of this element, a corporate debt control is required, which included enlisting management to display ethical behavior and create a strong tone at the top. The management should establish and obeying a documented set of policy help to form a strong tone. That's all from me. Thank you. I will pass the floor to the next person.
Hi, my name is Nurul Amirah Binti Deraman. My metric number 280176. I will present about conclusion. The study of Serba Dinamik financial fraud is a really interesting discussion for us as students who took the audit and assurance course this semester. The fraud case that happened to Serba Dinamik provide a lesson to the auditor out there to be fair, integrity and independent in reviewing the accuracy of the company financial statement. As we can see, the auditor have violated the auditor code of ethics for compromising in committing malpractice. This casts doubt on auditor ability to carry out their responsibility. Furthermore, audit firms are more likely to be engaged in corruption and financial scandal related to financial reporting, as at Serba Dinamik. Therefore, an auditor capability to make professional decision or judgment should be coupled with a positive attitude so that they are not easily influenced by corruption scenario. Legal action will be taken against audit firms that are involved in fraud. As a result, their operation of the service will be disturbed and affect their reputation. Additionally, such fraud case will have an impact on Serba Dinamik ability to expand their business capital. Because trust in their company has diminished, they are unable to attract potential investor, customer or supplier to invest in their company. Overall, the fraud case at Serba Dinamik highlight the need of being an ethical auditor in order to prevent becoming entangled in financial scandal.